President Trump issued an executive order in February of this year that attacked so-called independent regulatory agencies like the NRC. And under this order, the NRC has to submit every regulatory decision to Trump's Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs in the White House for its review. So, Chairman Wright, how many NRC decisions have been sent to the White House for review since this order was issued?
Subject to check, about 18, maybe?
18. How many of those decisions would have been transmitted before Trump's executive order in February?
As I understand it, maybe the main item that we have historically submitted or transmitted has been our annual fee rule.
So it's 18 so far have been sent?
Subject to check, sir. Yes.
Okay. As part of the new partisan review process, can the White House change the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's rules and decisions?
I may have to get back to you about that, just on detail. I'm not sure how that works. I do know that if there's we have the ability to have conversations with them on things that maybe aren't aligned or they don't agree with or something like that.
Has the White House used its authority to overrule the Nuclear Regulatory Commission on any of the rules and decisions transmitted by the Commission?
So far, they seem to have worked very well with us, and they've been accommodating.
So they have not overruled you on anything so far. Is that what you're saying?
Subject to check, sir. I'm not aware.
Is anyone aware that any changes have been made?
No, to my...
None have been made. Is that what you're saying? Okay,
Yes.
good. So there is, again, from my perspective, no chance that a qualified nuclear professional in the White House is reviewing these rules at the White House to make them stronger. That is not what is happening. Okay, it would be to water them down. That's what this White House is all about, watering them down, to give a rubber stamp to the nuclear private sector industry to move forward more quickly. So that would be the only reason that they would act, and there is nothing effective about putting our nuclear safety in the hands of a partisan political White House instead of independent nuclear experts. And the White House doesn't have the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's nuclear safety expertise. It doesn't have the NRC's mission to protect public health and safety. It has an agenda, and that agenda is to rubber stamp new nuclear power plants to make up for the upwards of 500,000 megawatts of wind and solar that the White House has killed. And they have to find a way of making up for that with nuclear, which of course is going to be impossible unless they completely trash the safety rules for nuclear power. That's why I'm afraid. That's why I'm very afraid of what the pressure is going to be on you. Because AI is growing, the demand for electricity is growing, they're killed wind and solar, and they're now looking at you to expedite the safety procedures. And if you don't, the White House will just overrule you. That is what is unfolding right in front of us. So imagine if you went to the doctor who looked at your symptoms, made an expert diagnosis, and said you needed surgery. That would be you. But before you could get treated, you had to wait for the city's mayor to review the prescription and decide you're actually fine with a Band-Aid. That's what the Trump administration is doing here. That's what they're putting in place. The Trump administration is putting its political agenda between you and your safety. And it's putting a curtain up between the public and its right to know what's going on. The transparency of the NRC is replaced by the darkness of the Trump White House. in terms of who is talking to them, what is being asked about these regulations that ultimately result in a compromise of the safety protections which you have put in place. And you are telling me you don't know if they can override you. You don't know if they can replace your judgments. You don't know if the safety that this commission is put in place in order to advance is going to be compromised. So that's the problem with this White House. And again, they're doing it at the same time that they're saying they're going to put a nuclear reactor up on the moon. They're going to put a nuclear reactor between us and our moon at the same time that we know that the sun is setting on the nuclear industry and the nuclear moon is getting ready to rise, and it could be very dangerous without the NRC having a real role in the safety of that nuclear power plant. So all across the board, there's a nuclear agenda here which is very dangerous, and it's going to leave the public in the dark, uninformed, and unaware of the decisions that directly affect their health and their safety. And these decisions are going to be made in darkness in the White House about the nuclear safety of these power plants across our country. So you provide transparency, the White House provides darkness. And out of that, we're going to have something that is not trustworthy for local communities. And it's going to make it even harder to license nuclear power plants if they believe that there is no transparency, if they believe it's just the industry showing up and trying their best to compromise the safety regulations. So your job is to regulate the industry, not to promote it. The job of the White House is to promote it, not to regulate it. We know that that's why we created the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in the 1970s, to avoid that conflict. And the White House right now is putting that conflict back into action, Mr. Chairman. Give me an assurance that the NRC will not stand on the sidelines if safety is being compromised by this White House.
I can assure you safety is not going to be compromised. As I mentioned earlier, it's our North Star, it's our strike zone.
Even if the White House issues an order saying that the safety regulations you have promulgated must be compromised.
Safety will not be compromised, I can assure you that.
Do you agree with that, Commissioner?
Yes, sir, I agree with that. And to this point, safety is in the recognition of the public's trust of nuclear power and the social license that we've talked about. The White House, from my understanding here, prioritizes safety as well. I think the devil's in the details. To this point, we haven't had any.
But they just lied, Commissioner. They're saying wind is unsafe. And they can tell the same lie about nuclear power. It is safe. Don't worry about the Nuclear Regulatory Commission regulations that will make it safer, that will provide safety. They just lie through their teeth when it comes to their political agenda to kill wind and solar. They lie about the fact that they are inherently safe, and over here, an inherently dangerous technology, nuclear, which is why we have an entire agency. We don't have a solar agency. We don't have a wind regulatory commission because there can be no nuclear, there is no solar radioactive, fallout. There is no wind radioactive fallout, okay? You don't have to say to Pennsylvania, begin to think about evacuating if a wind or a solar plant goes down. But with nuclear, you have to. So I'll give you the final word, Commissioner Crowell.
I do think that we all genuinely support and care about safety. That being said, if we lose any more staff, that's going to be tough to credibly make safety cases on a timeline that we're being asked to do so. I'm also concerned with respect to the agency's historic independence that on the rulemaking front, the commission's votes will no longer be made public. So there's no benefit, the public won't have the benefit of knowing the thinking of the three of us and the agency in terms of the a rulemaking proposal that then goes to OIRA. So there are transparency concerns, but I think they're resolvable if we acknowledge them.
Nuclear safety is about to fall into a nuclear regulatory black hole.
The gentleman's
that's
time
going to
has
disguise
expired.
and hide the safety concerns from the American people. Thank you.
During a Senate Environmental and Public Works Committee hearing on Wednesday, Senator Ed Markey, Democrat, Massachusetts, questioned Nuclear Regulatory Commission Chairman David Wright about the potential impact of President Trump's executive orders on the safety regulations of the NRC. The discussion centered around an executive order issued by the Trump administration in February, which requires independent regulatory agencies, including the NRC, to submit all regulatory decisions to the White House's Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, OIRA, for review. Senator Markey expressed concerns about the possibility of safety regulations being compromised by political influence. He asked Chairman Wright how many decisions the NRC had sent to the White House for review since the executive order was implemented. Wright responded that, as of that moment, 18 decisions had been transmitted to OIRA. However, Wright indicated that historically, the NRC had only submitted its annual fee rule to the White House for review prior to the order. The senator also asked whether the White House had the authority to change the NRC's rules or overrule its decisions, but Wright was uncertain about the specifics, stating that discussions between the NRC and the White House could address disagreements, though he was not sure if changes could be made. Markey's concerns focused on the potential for the Trump administration to weaken the safety standards that the NRC has set, particularly to expedite nuclear development and make up for the loss of renewable energy projects. He argued that the White House lacked the expertise in nuclear safety that the NRC holds and that political interference could result in safety compromises. He further criticized the administration for potentially using its power to fast-track nuclear power plants while undermining the public's right to transparency in safety decisions. Chairman Wright assured Senator Markey that safety would remain the NRC's top priority and that the agency's commitment to nuclear safety was unwavering. He acknowledged that the process of rulemaking and decision-making would be influenced by the new review system, but maintained that the agency would not compromise safety. Wright noted that while the NRC's work is transparent, the White House's involvement could make the rulemaking process less visible to the public, as the votes of the commissioners would no longer be made public. The discussion highlighted the ongoing tension between regulatory independence and political pressures, with Markey emphasizing the need to protect public health and safety, and Wright attempting to reassure that the NRC would not be swayed from its mission.